All right. Sorry about the slight little delay there. Sean got me all fired up. Had to do a lap around the house. Had to read that proposed bill. My God, can't even. I just can't even say it. I'm like, my blood was like boiling after reading that. And I was like, my God, the level of selfishness is unbelievable. Yeah, give him any shot. And also, just for the record, guys, from the the health department, we are not to be drinking pool or aquarium chemicals to stop the coronavirus. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. That you guys know there is no drinking of aquarium supplies. It's not going to save you. Just make sure everybody's on the same page there. I feel bad for the guy, but at the end of the day, you should know that you should not be drinking aquarium chemicals. All right. So let's do this. All right, so markets today. When I said the bottom could be in last night, I didn't expect that there's going to be 11% run up in the market today. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Biggest day since 1939 or 1933 or something like that. Crazy, crazy day, right? Obviously, did not expect that type of movement off of there. I knew the stimulus was going to be a big thing. I knew when the stimulus came in that would obviously send the market a bit higher. I was more focusing on what the holding was. Like I said, I still believe the market has the potential to go down. The stimulus is great, but if there are numbers that are suddenly surprising, I still think that unemployment number is going to be a bomb that drops. That is just it's just an absolutely huge number. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. Stimulus is all fine and good. Sending people some checks is good. But once that unemployment number kicks in, it's like, holy crap. Now that's going to be a big deal. Chuck Schumer's, yeah, right. Yeah, Chuck, good old Chuck was part of that one too. That first one fakes me every time. Where'd you hear that? Somebody actually thought that would work. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, Hip, there's a guy that died today, and his wife is actually like in intensive care or something, or critical care or something. They drank not even exactly the same thing. It's it's the combination is basically the Z-Pak erythromycin and then the hydroquin is whatever it is. They drank just the quinosulfate, which you use basically to cure parasites inside of a pond for like koi, and they drank that and basically blamed Trump. And she's saying now that he should never be trusted. He told us that this was safe. And he said, no, the malaria drug that people take is considered safe. The pool chemical designed for fish, not safe. And if you thought that they were the exact same thing because the name sounded familiar, you can't really blame that on Trump. I'm sorry. I don't care what side of the aisle you vote on. At the end of the day, it's something that's different, and you can't blame anybody because you drank aquarium chemicals. So yeah, yeah, at this point they may start eating Tide Pods. You never know, right? It's bad here. I read somewhere that AT&T requested some type of FCC exception regarding internet. Yeah, actually, Ernest, I did hear something about internet because obviously there's we have not. I mean, yes, you could have unlimited, but there is limited bandwidth that actually exists inside of kind of like society. And they were talking and it's based off of and there's all kinds of things with it, with the amount of kind of content and bandwidth. But yeah, I actually did see something about the exceptions for that one. It's based off of how many providers and data and bandwidth, and there's fees and things that go depending on your subscriber content and things like that. Yeah, so I did hear something about that. But yeah, they'll get extensions for that. Yeah, they should have Googled it. Who's the provider? They probably throttle. No, no, no. It's not so much about throttling. It's about there's certain basically there's something we technically in the States we don't have full blown unlimited bandwidth. It's kind of regulated. It's a little bit different. They do the same thing with our cell phones. We actually have capability to go higher and get more data through our cell phones, but it's regulated by the government. So they're asking for exceptions. Yeah, it's like there's a sign on gas pump. Well, I will tell you guys, pool chemicals basically will say, if you drink this, call poison control. I mean, I have a koi pond, so there's no koi in it right now, but that's a different story. Um, Last year we had such a harsh winter, it blew up the pump. It literally froze everything in the pump and shattered everything. And the koi obviously did not survive that one. And of course, this year that I don't have a pump running and didn't put fish back in it, the pond's still running. I just don't have. There's no koi in it, and figures this is the year they would have made it through. Um, yeah, turn engine off before changing the belt. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right? Same idea, guys. But yeah. And then, like I said, I have no idea. Stimulus package, what that has to do with airline credits. It's like you didn't want to save Boeing in the first place, but now you want to give them airline credits and solar, right? Solar. Gas is $2 a gallon. We're trying to stimulate people. Why are you extending solar credits? You want to talk about equality. I don't believe that, solar, the reason solar never took off to its full extent is because it wasn't cost, effective. It's definitely not cost effective with, gas being down at, $2 a gallon. Not exactly sure what they're thinking. Trying to save the world, but they're worried. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what they're thinking. I can't even begin to. I can't put myself in it. Um, that's not bad. No, we actually broke 199 here. I didn't see it. My wife said she saw it at Sam's Club when she's driving past. But I am happy to report, guys, I did survive the first day. I made it through. My wife working from home. I didn't kill either of the two children. The girl is still alive as well. We did survive. It did take 4 hours to go through our prescribed homework for the day, and I got very, very little done this morning. Just gonna say that it's like, oh God. So the boys actually go back to their moms tomorrow night, and I'm very excited for Thursday and Friday, where I can actually get some work done. Woo! So my heart goes out to Josh and five daughters. I live in Corona Ground Central. Shoot me. Q, you just need to get a bike. Just get a bike. Actually, I mean, come on. Every apocalyptic type movie and scenario, the best thing you could have is a dirt bike because you can ride it on the streets. You can get away from zombies with it. Um, you know. But what I want to know, Q, have you ordered your leather studded harness and hockey mask? Because in apocalyptic times, that's what everybody's going to be wearing, right? I mean, look at Mad Max, right? That's all they wore, right? Studded leather body harnesses. That's all you guys need. No, I have a machete and it's nice. All right, guys. So market wise, look at the euro. Euro's only down 16 in the last 24 hours. So again, seeing that one kind of shrink back again. And again, I'm very very happy tonight. Obviously, the pound dollar up 153. That's going to move, right? Pound yen up 228. A big day, but not like 500 pip crazy day, right? Euro pound slammed that sucker down 135. A little bit of a big day, but not crazy. Everything else minus 16. Dollar yen up 48. Dollar Swiss 20. Dollar CAD minus 2. Aussie dollar 38. These are what we want to see. We want the markets and the ATRs to go back down to where they're supposed to be, so the spreads all shrink back again. It's one of the things that's kind of kept me out of a bunch of trades, and I'm looking at some of the spreads. I'm like, yeah, I don't like the spread. And then obviously we saw today there were some warnings from different brokerage firms and things about, the increased spreads. I mean, they're about a week late for the craziness. I don't know that we'll have as much, but I do believe that they're all actually preparing for the unemployment number as well. I think that's going to be the big kind of like, oh, thump thump, because that's where a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, we need to get out. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I hope to God people have their $1,000, $1,500. I don't even know what it is right now. Does anybody actually know what the last proposed number is? Originally, it was supposed to be like $1,000, like an adult, and then I saw something that it was like I saw somewhere else that it was like $1,500 per adult, or like $3,000 per family of four, but it's less than that obviously if you don't have a family of four. And then somewhere else I saw it was like 1,000 per kid, but then it was like 1,500 per adult. Like I don't even know. It's like somewhere around there. And I don't even know when the checks are even supposed to be coming or what. So I really don't have any idea. But I keep seeing a bunch of numbers back and forth. If you guys know, go ahead and type it in chat so we can get on the same page. I'll put it in my IG account. Yeah, I know, right? I got this from Forbes, posted yesterday. Yeah, but I know it's changed from what it was yesterday. Is it 1,500 per adult then, I guess? Yeah, I saw. Yeah, there was an income. Well, the only thing I heard before when we originally was like, if you make $1 million, you're not getting a check, right? That's all I saw. Um, but there's so many versions. Yeah, well, I think there is an income cap somewhere in there, and I don't know if they're using taxes from last year or what. Um, but like I said, I mean, if you're not working, you don't have any income at all, so it's kind of hard to put an income cap around that one. Not sure. Yeah, Ernest is not getting a check. Yeah, so who knows? I mean, that's the thing. There's so many people unemployed, and it's like, okay, well, is that going to count? And what are the unemployment benefit going to be? I mean, it's going to be a complete nightmare. And then on top of it, it's like, hey, you know what? Let's just start a digital currency in the middle of this complete nightmare. Yeah, let's just switch it all up in crisis. It sounds like a great time to do it. 1,500 per adult, 500 per children. Okay, and that kind of makes sense. I mean, that would be so like for a family of four, you're getting 4,000. Yeah. Eh, I don't know. I honestly, I still think that what they should do, the first thing that they should do is they should figure out what the total mortgage kind of like liability is, and then suspend mortgages for a month or 2 months. I think that would go further than um, just giving people flat out money to spend. I mean, the money to spend is nice; it'll help the economy, people spending it. But like I said, you only need so many rolls of toilet paper and hand sanitizer at this point. People are going to be sitting on 6 years worth of toilet paper. Pump the brake there, and credit cards. Yeah, I mean, credit cards will obviously get run up for this stage, but at the end of the day, on that one, Q, it's kind of like as long as you have room on your credit card, it's okay. And most people's credit cards, I don't know. I mean, like if you don't pay it for a month in this crisis, they're going to give you, it's not going to be the end of the world. Um, I can just see them saying, "Hey, listen, no penalties, no interest for this month. If you can pay it, pay it. If you don't, not the end of the world. There's no penalties, doesn't go on your credit, right?" But mortgage is one of those big things, and again, for most people, if they didn't have to pay their mortgage payment, they'd be like, "Yeah, I can survive for another month or 2 months, right?" Around here, it's guns and ammo. Yeah, you can't buy any ammunition at all here. A buddy of mine in Virginia, actually, he sent me a picture. I know a guy here, basically. I think the only thing you can buy is like shotgun shells. So if you were a zombie, and put it this way, from playing a few computer games, I know these things, right? The pistol ammunition doesn't kill zombies in one shot, but the shotgun is always the upgrade, guys. So grab your shotgun shells. It doesn't matter what, pellet size. In video games, when we fight zombies, the pistol is the starter. The shotgun is upgrade number 2. So definitely. Oh yeah, always aim for the head. That's all that matters, right? So shotgun, good. And again, duck hunters out there. At the end of the day, the zombie doesn't care if it's my Benelli, will work perfectly fine. He runs an ammo factory. Can't load it. I'm sure. Yeah, anybody that knows how to that knows how to load and has the equipment, um, I'm sure they're doing quite well. If Put it this way, if I had the equipment, I looked into it for a while. My grandfather used to do a ton of it. If I had the equipment, I would definitely be loading shells now. They say no price gouging, but man, I'd be loading the. I'd be making a ton, right? Now I just need a gun and I'm good. Man, you're a lover, not a fighter. Come on, Q. All right, guys. So obviously today the flash news I mentioned it before was going to be. I thought it was going to be crazy, right? Interestingly enough, some of them were extremely bad, right? Remember I said a lot of these flash services I expected to see down in the 35 range? There was a couple in 35, but man, look at the other side of it, right? This one was 40, this one was 45, 44, 48. The flash manufacturing, the services, it was much worse, but pretty crazy there, right? And then the U.S. numbers, same thing. 49.2, that's not bad at all, right? We're literally right. We're right there, right? We're right at 50. The flash services, obviously, a little bit less, right? And then the rich manufacturing index, again, before it was low, it was expected to be much, much lower, and it came in positive. So pretty interesting, right? Pretty interesting stuff there. All the news for today, obviously, it's going to be, you know, Trump. And again, Trump says Americans can socially distance themselves and go to work. I would say, yeah, probably. I mean, if the definition of social distancing is 6 feet away, how many jobs in the United States could you go to and be 6 feet away? I mean, obviously, restaurants and things like that have figured out ways around it. Is it possible that Americans could do that and remain 6 feet away? I mean, think about it. In many sales things, if you're running a business or any type of manufacturing, I mean, you could go and technically stay in your office and still be socially distanced. So I think there's something to be said to that. I think one of the biggest things that they're not talking about, and again, it's the two sides of the aisle, playing each other, back and forth. People are like, oh, you can't send it back too early. At the same time, if people stay home, do you guys know what type of mental health issues we're going to run into? It's going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be horrible, right? Leaving all these people crammed into their houses, told they're not allowed to leave. Yeah, that's going to be a huge problem, and nobody's talking about that right now. So again, I think getting people out of the house in a responsible way, I don't think is the end of the world. I mean, think about it. If you commute, and again, maybe not in New York City, right? Because in New York City, I mean, again, if you're taking public transportation, but my wife, right? I mean, she's working from home now, but could she get in her car, drive to work, get into her office, and never be within 6 feet of anybody else until she gets home at the end of the day? Absolutely, absolutely. It doesn't matter if she's selling, styrofoam peanuts. That's not what she's doing. But if she was, you could do that. I don't see any reason to do that. Again, it gets people out of the house. It keeps, GDP moving along. I think that's kind of, again, return to normalcy is what matters the most at this point, right? I don't know if anybody else saw this today. I don't see anything in here, but somebody was saying, looking at Italy's numbers, that it actually looks like Italy could potentially be peaking at this point. This could be a peak or even actually a slight reduction in growth rates. That they actually may be turning the corner finally in Italy, which would be great. There was a bunch of statements today passing around that it showed us versus Italy and how much how much worse they are considering we had cases at the same exact time. Um, it was pretty interesting, or like our 100th case was on like the same day or something like that. How much farther worse, how much worse they are. So if they're starting to round the corner, that'd be pretty interesting. And then we will see. Oh, I'm sure the New York subway's empty. No offense. I thought the New York subways were dirty when I was there. I couldn't believe it. They always had that weird smell to them. You see like movement out of the corner of your eye, like, yeah, that's a big rat. And there was always trash in there, like, I don't know. I think the subway system in there is it needs a revamp. They need to go in there with some bleach wipes. Go in there with the Clorox spray. Get it all out. Yeah, they're pretty dirty. Yeah, Italy had a 16.1 of reversing. Yeah, exactly right. And homeless folks on the train. Honestly, the craziest thing, guys, I don't know if you've ever been to New York City. For any of you guys that have done public transportation, like when I first got up there, I took the train up, Grand Central and everything. Definitely an interesting experience. And what I found the most strange, I mean, again, there's always a guy that's singing, giving out food or something like that. And again, you don't have any idea where he got the food from. But, there's definitely some religious folks that are running through and preaching and things like that. But the one time there was like these two kids that were basically like fighting at the end, and everybody on the train were basically pretending that these two didn't exist. Like I'm like, if these guys pull out a knife or shoot each other, no one's going to even do anything. And it was the strangest experience of my entire life. Just unbelievable. Thankfully, the girls that they were with like pushed them off the train, and I was like, did anybody just see that? Like, like what is this? Yeah, it's insane. Definitely an experience. That's as far as news goes. And again, here's this. Oh, I'm real optimism for a deal. It's like no, no, don't be super optimistic with the thing that you just did. Looking into tomorrow. So tomorrow, obviously, we have CPI. That's going to be an interesting number, and like I said, it's supposed to be slightly lower, but we'll see what what that one is. I think that one actually could be kind of a big mover for the pound. The German business climate, that again, we'll see. Um, it's not a number we typically look at, but it is going to be a European number, and we've seen some European pullback today, especially versus the pound. And then core durable goods. Obviously durable and then core durable, as well as oils tomorrow. So the oil number will be interesting, although I don't know that necessarily the inventory is going to be necessarily the biggest driver in that. But again, it's been, there's been some setups during the day, things that you can, kind of trade. You guys on the forums before tonight, you did mention that, about how like the Saudi Arabia and Russia said they can go down and they can afford for a year and a half to keep it at $10 a barrel. Um, just because you could doesn't mean it's a good idea, right? If they did something like that, I mean, again, eventually companies are going to be like, I don't know about that. Maybe we just won't buy oil from there. We'll just, we'll produce it ourselves because that's too cheap, and then put tariffs on it so it doesn't hurt countries actual oil supplies, right? Oil reserves. I mean, if it's that cheap, the United States will buy all of it, and then we will just stockpile it and store it. And then when nobody else has any in the world, we'll have a ton of it. I mean, we can produce all of our own. It's like if we can get it cheaper elsewhere, you might as well get it cheaper elsewhere. I mean, it's it will affect some of our companies and they will move in other directions, and that's fine. But we'll just sit on it. I mean, if they want to destroy themselves by trying to be the last man standing, that's okay because by them doing that, it's not like they are tapping into our oil supply and using up our oil. But on the flip side, if they had that increased production, are they able to sustain it? They don't have an unlimited supply of oil either. And if you talk to some oil experts, 30 years ago, they were supposed to take readings of how much oil they had, and they haven't let anybody else come back in and review those findings or those readings. They should have run out of oil like 10 or 15 years ago, according to what the original estimates were. So the question is, how much they even have left? Are they doing this to kind of try to get the last little bit out, or are they, I mean, what's their play? At the end of the day, they don't really have much. If oil is that cheap and it's kind of like, is it really that big of a deal for us to kind of go there anymore and protect them? Probably not either. So a lot of stuff going on, right? Have you experienced Showtime on the subway there? Yeah. Yeah. Just took one out, Brian. Yeah, honestly, Q, you could have. I literally could have. I mean, I could have done anything to these two guys. I could have punched them, stabbed them, shot them, and I don't think anybody would look up from their phones. It's like an entirely different word. Like you're in your own little personal bubble and nobody pays attention. Yeah, it's an experience. And I'll tell you right now, I have tons of respect for you because, I mean, thinking, I mean, I've always said New York. I don't know why anybody would want to live there. Great place to visit. I mean, I liked working there and then going home. But something like this, I mean, if I had known that this outbreak, if I had been up there and this outbreak had have come, I'd have just been like, there is no way you're going to pay to send me to the city. I don't care how much you're paying me. Like, you're just asking for it. I mean, it's just, there's so many people in such a small little area. Like, I don't know. I just don't get it. I know some people are definitely city people, and more power to them. It just, I don't know. It goes back to common sense. Don't drink the aquarium chemicals. It's the same idea. Yeah, it's home. It's all right. It's all right. Hey, I appreciate what you do by living there, because if we are ever attacked and they go after civilians, they're going after New York first. So my family may live because of your sacrifices. So I appreciate that, buddy. I appreciate all you do for us country folk. Actually, the only one safe is going to be Sean, because he's in like the middle of nowhere in Michigan. And all the rest of us, I think, are in trouble. I'm done because I'm right outside of DC. Hey, I'm no better than you are, buddy. I'm like 15 miles out or 20 miles outside of DC. I'm done. It'll be New York and DC at the same time. So we are both, maybe you guys in Texas will go a little bit longer, but I don't know. Maybe. Dallas is a pretty big airport, pretty big area too. But Sean is good. All right, so that's going into tomorrow, like I said. All right, so scanner. As I mentioned, the scanner is starting to look better and better this week as we see less big, gigantic, crazy moves. We are seeing the scanner come back into play. So if you guys look over here on the left for these majors, again, pound dollar, you're seeing continued strength in that one. And again, that's them shifting things around. Data is not necessarily as bad as it used to be. That one's starting to move in the right direction, so I'm liking that one. Dollar yen, obviously we know what's going on there. We had some movement in that one today. Overall, dollar yen was up 45. Not a bad day. Again, less than its ATR, much less than its new ATR. But again, a little bit uptrend set up there on the daily and the 4 hour, and we'll check that out on the lower time frames. Dollar Swiss, some consolidation, and again, dollar Swiss is up 15. It's kind of back and forth. Not too much movement in there. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar up 55 again. Look at that. We talked about maybe putting in bottoms. Kind of interesting. You're seeing some life come back into that one, right? And again, it's not blasting, high, but we are 3 days in a row now of all greens, and some pretty nice levels hit from the bottom. We are starting to approach some areas of supply though, so we may have to look into that one for some sells there. To take that one again, we are in a downtrend setup. Consolidation in New Zealand dollar, and again, I think liquidity is still an issue there. Euro down, CAD sideways. CAD's only down, down 16. So I did just take a nap a little while ago, guys, but I don't know. The yawn thing is real. CAD is consolidation literally right across the board. We'll see. I think we need a little bit more data out of Canada to be able to really kind of give that the weakness that I think it's going to end up having. And again, the more we lock down, the more countries, the more like a country like Canada is going to have some issues. They're relying upon exports. And they're safe. Actually, my sister-in-law, actually, she's not really my sister-in-law. She's, I don't know, it's my wife's cousin, I guess, or second cousin. She actually works in a hospital up in Vancouver. And she's actually not in the ER. She's had some interesting reports. So far, everything's looking to the European basket. Okay. European basket overall, if you guys look at the colors over here, you see it's mostly blue. We do have some red in there again versus CAD, US, and pound, off the big currencies. Off of the smaller currencies, the euro is doing a little bit better. And again, this is kind of what you expect, right? The euro CAD, don't really know about that one. The pound and the dollar, I understand those two. But yen, Aussie, Swiss, and New Zealand all giving us that weakness versus the euro. And we're seeing an anchor break, literally just straight up in euro Swiss. That was that pair that we took this weekend. That's continuing to move. Your Aussie, your New Zealand, again, those two, not as worried. Again, those two currencies are going to be considered weak no matter what. Versus the yen, check that one out. That's giving us some solid movement on lower time frames. CAD basket. Look at the CAD basket. Like I said, I think the CAD needs some news. I think people are forgetting that country exists right now. Look at this. Right across the board. All consolidation. Even on lower time frames, there's not too much excitement in that one. So, I think everybody's waiting to hear what's next, right? What's next out of Canada? I almost feel like middle of the woods. Sean, come on, man. You were in like the last place, right? You're too far from the coast, so you don't have to worry about that. I mean, I guess if the Canadians come down, then you're in trouble. But besides that, I think you're good, man. I mean, I do feel that your dial-up internet will be the first to go, though. I feel like in case of emergency, the dial-up internet's going to go. Aussie basket. Same type of consolidation, right? You're not seeing checks, you're not seeing sideways. Again, it's saying that it's down across the board in weakness, but we're seeing it kind of pull back again. It's kind of hard on the daily because we had so much down for so long. It makes it pretty difficult, right, to really kind of give us a true kind of sense of where these things are coming in. The lower time frames for me right now in the Aussie, I'm not really focusing on the dollar side much, even though the strength rating is actually factored off the dollar. For me, I'm looking more for the 4 hour, the 3 hour, and the 1 hour. Again, on these smaller time frames, you're seeing it, a little bit different. You're seeing, confirmed here, breaks, consolidations, setups. You're seeing more play on the lower time frames, and that's what we got to focus on. What are the Canadians going to do? Hug everyone? They'll say sorry first, and then they'll say, "Eh, give us your toilet paper, eh?" I don't think we have Canadians on, thank God. If we do, I'm sorry. My wife's probably in the other room throwing stuff at the door. I just can't hear it. Pound basket. Pound basket is interesting. A lot more. Oh, I'm getting messages. Yep, she heard me. I'm getting yelled at. Oh God, she's angry. I get this flurry of messages come through my phone, all at one time. um, yeah, she's mad. Um, Sorry. Actually, it was that and a buddy of mine. So I was so fired up. I had to post something about how airline credits and solar is not going to help people buy food. And I guess one of my friends who was like, she lives in Seattle and she's like a super Democrat, like just, yeah, like as far left as they come. Another guy I know locally, he's like, "Can I roast her? Please let me roast her. Can I roast her?" I'm like, "Go for it. Rip her a new one." So that'll be my treat for running it off chart school tonight. I'm like, go for it. I hope to God she says something about the aquarium chemicals. I really want to jump on that one too. All right, so let's go over to the chart. So, like I said, pound it is what it is over here on the pound. Again, things are coming back. It's getting normal. We see some strength. That CPI number will be a big one for us to follow. All right. So let's jump over to charts. All right, so looking at Aussie dollar. So again, you guys can see the pullback of this one, right? Again, 4 days, basically 4 days so far of green. On the 4 hour, you can see again, we're pushing higher. We had some problems with this 4 hour zone here. All right, the indicator did not mark it off, but there's definitely a level of basing here. And we've bounced it. We've hit it again. We've hit it a third time. So we've hit it a few times in here. Um, so again, big question is, should we be looking for sells here? And it's an interesting position. Like I said, it was a nice base, very, very strong push off of it. We marked the zone off before saying it's something we need to focus on. But again, pop, 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 pop. We've hit it multiple times. The lows are coming up higher. So interesting level. It looks like it does want, it would like to break. So right now the indicator is pulling, you guys can see blue, this little zone up top. But again, it's a better draw off the 4 hour versus the actual 1 hour in this case. We're seeing it kind of go across, right? I mean, it's moving. You know, like you said, I wouldn't say there's any zones below that are really explosive that leads me to believe that this is just going to all of a sudden just go boom and burst through the top. You are forming some levels down here. Again, this level I would not be focusing on. This level is probably a real level. We do have some room to that though. I mean, you're talking about 240 pips here. Again, this one is still kind of set on crazy. We're at 217 pips. It's getting better, right? It's getting better, but we're not quite there yet. So on the 30-minute. You guys will see here as well. Looking on the 30-minute, let me shrink this back just a little bit. You can see overall, we've kind of left the low section here and gone up into the upper low or like bottom middle section, right? Again, this is kind of interesting because you're seeing that there's actually two levels formed here. There is this upper one that we talked about before, and again, the indicator has marked this one off, but then you have this lower one sitting right here. Okay, and you guys see what that just bounced off of. So again, definitely you got to see how, this is why it's important to check those smaller time frames. And in fact, had you taken this, let's bring this down right there. As you guys can see, we already hit a 1 to 3 target off this one. I didn't take this one. I was actually eating dinner at this time. But again, smaller level, a little bit more aggressive. Nice, actually not a bad zone if you guys check this out, right? A drop, nice drop, and then bam, explosion out of it. So again, that's taking a 4 hour level, dropping it a bit down, and playing a small time reversal. Now, big question will be is to see if this holds for a second time. Again, it has pushed down. Where we are right now is going to be very telltale, right? It's pushed down, it's pushed back a little bit up, And then when it continues to push the downside, that's what's going to matter. If this can't go back up and higher, that could be the trend reversal signal that we're looking for to push back down again. Now, this is a wick over wick in here. It's already driven all the way to the bottom of it, so I'm not really concerned about that one. What I do think is we need to watch out for kind of this level right here. Right there. I think that's the level we need to watch out for to the downside. There's a little bit of a pop right here, but I think it will get enough momentum and kind of like a snowball picking up speed. I don't think it's going to have that big of an issue with that, but again, we're still talking at that point. We're still talking about 130 pips away. So, not too bad to the downside. Are you going to do chart school? The bird just came over to sitting on my arm, actually like watching the mouse. So that's what I'm looking for in this one, guys. If you're in this trade, great job. But to me, it looks like this one wants to get a little bit bearish overnight. Looking at this guy. All right, so in the daily, same thing, same picture. Obviously driving back up again. We did have a pullback and kind of a launch forward. Here's the problem with this one. Look at the 4 hour. Not really anything super clean. You got some wicks, you got things popping. Just a lot of junk, right? A lot of junk. Now we talked about this before. This one's been rough. This is a wick over wick. Again, we got a tag here. Let's see. Here's where we were last night. So you can see it really hasn't done too much. It's just more or less banked sideways. You had this little area here. Okay, but I would have drawn it off of this zone, not this zone. So I would not have used that one. Yeah, it's... Yeah, see, here, this one is showing it in the back, not the forward one. I don't know. This one is okay. It's all right. I still think that this is a much better zone up top. And again, with it flattening out, I don't think there's going to be anything in the overnight for this one, even on the smaller time frame. Just everything in here is just, I wouldn't say there's a lot of momentum, right? Not a lot of momentum. And again, this 4 hour chart, there's really no flat levels. This is a double right here. This was a clearing wick up top, clearing wick up here. So Aussie New Zealand is really not just showing as much that we like, right? Looking at this guy, okay, we are in a downtrend setup on the daily and weekly. Again, we're seeing that one pull back again. Looking at it on the 4 hour time frame, okay, you guys will see right here. You guys see some checks. That means there must have been some levels that we said were okay in this one. And again, for today, is there anything great popping wise? Nah, there's a wick over wick in here, and there's a piece down here. But again, that's obviously a reaction off of what we had going on here. So 4 hours not really telling. On the 1 hour, okay, the 1 hour, this is where we had those zones marked off. And you can see, look at this. Got super, super close to it, and it kind of turned right in front of it. I don't know if you guys remember this level we talked about last night. That's kind of where it was. And again, time-wise, here's where we are now, and here's where we were last night in this section. We talked about it coming up, and we'd see what it would do. It kind of turned first and has moved away. Since its peak, it's moved about 60 pips down already. A little bit bigger of a zone. I think on the 30-minute, you guys can see it's actually just slightly higher than this one. You can see how close we actually missed it. Yeah, and it's kind of it's up there, but I'm afraid that that's going to be the hit. I think at this point, because we put this high in, I think this is what's going to. Don't know that we're going to be able to get into this one, unfortunately. If anything, maybe move it just a bit higher. Take it up, although that's a risk on that one. The problem with this one is the risk is about 64. And see, even on the 15-minute, it's the same zone. I don't even know if we can see it at this point. Let's see if I can see this on the lower time frame. Nope. I can shrink it a little bit. I can shrink it to like there, but we're still talking about 45 pips. Even on a 5 minute, it's a 45 pip zone. So unfortunately, this is not the best little area. I think that original one that we had marked off, probably this would be kind of a little bit better of a kind of that front run. But if anything, we could shrink it potentially into take the top section. Because instead of taking this right now, because it did get here and turned, you may want to move it up to like there. Okay. See if we can get an extended push up. If it continues to break, if it breaks this level here, if it breaks this level, all bets are off. Because then it just showed us that it's breaking one level to the downside already. Yeah, it's big. It's big. But again, I mean, when you look at it for the day, right? I mean, looking at it for the day, what do we got right now? I mean, it's down to 170. So, I mean, it's starting to shrink back down again. Again, we got to work some of these things out. I mean, we're at 260, right? So let's see. Let's pull ATR in. Ready to go. Boom, boom. You can see we do have this little kind of a peak here. By the end of the week, we're going to start chumping some of these off over in here. I'm going to see how fast this is going to come back down again. I mean, the normal list one is about 80 pips. So we are still about, what, 4 times as much. Yeah, I think we could, like I said, we need a lot of these levels. I think by the end of the week, this one will start to be kind of coming back down, and everything will be shrunk again. I mean, the spread on it is still pretty nice. It's only 2. So, yeah, like I said, it's okay, not much. Aussie CAD, kind of a similar situation, right? On the daily, again, pulling up, running into a little bit of an area. Here's your 4 hour, nothing super clean. I don't like this zone right here. On the 1 hour, I don't mind the pop off of this one. Pretty decent pop off of that, but we got some room to run on that one. You know, you're looking at about 140 pips up. The daily ATR is 237. So I would say, if anything, you know, wait for it to come up to that zone. It's got to move what? It's got to move 120 pips before we can get there. It's got to eat up what it already did for today over the last 4 hours and then continue to go higher. So, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, this one, the spread's a little bit bigger. You know, some of these zones, even this zone that looks very little, is still about 30 pips on an hourly. It's better than what we had in the last pair, but even so, it's not. There's nothing in here that I'm screaming like, yeah, I love that one. You know, on the 30, it's actually a little bit bigger than the hourly, which you know is always messed up. Okay, that would be Aussie CAD. Aussie Swiss. I mean, Aussie Swiss are still waiting for the top. Nothing really popped today. Same situation. Got 126 pips before we get to that zone. There's nothing in here that tells me it wants to stop. And really, I mean, this zone is actually a test of this. It's actually a test of this zone right here. Okay, so again, nothing there that I'm screaming that I love. Okay, and then Aussie Singapore. I mean, this one is just, you know, same situation, straight up 4 pip, 4 pip spread right now. You know, the movement top to bottom today was about 233 pips. 267 is the daily. Again, this is a little bit risky to play at this moment and where we are. All right, going to the Canadian pairs. All right, so you can see this guy. All right, so we talked about this. Here's the 4 hour. Literally, we didn't move much. We literally are braced between kind of the top and the bottom of this rock and a hard place. Here is it on the hourly. And again, we mentioned this last night. Okay, you guys can see not a whole lot in here, right? Click the time function. You can see that here's where we are right now. And going backwards, this is where we were last night. So we've gone a total of 20 pips. Daily ATR on this one is 205. So when you do 10% of what the overall spread is, you know things are getting a little bit funky. And look at this. Look how small the green candle is, right? Kind of went up and down, but little body, right? Little body. So again, the craziness is starting to kind of factor itself out of the CAD. I think we need another day or two for this, you know, this to come back to normal, and then we'll get some zones that are kind of worth it. But right now, even on the 30-minute, you guys can see how flat it is, and we need some movement top or bottom before we really get to into some better selling areas. And like I said, this is that double one. I'd be using the above the line, not the below. Okay, I don't even know what it mark it. Yeah, it did. It would mark the top, something along those lines. Up here at what, 78.20 to 78.37, I think is probably the answer you're looking for there. All right, going to Swiss. All right, so there's a zone. Okay, we'd marked off these 2 zones up top. Again, we still hold this entry up top, the 114.37. We did get a little bit higher up there. There's the 4 hour. As you guys can see, we did have a little bit of a bounce off that 4 hour zone. I mentioned that we had this area here that I'd marked off. Actually, I think that was on the hourly. Yeah, that was an hourly zone. You can see we hit it here, went all the way down, ended up hitting our full profit target. You can see that one would have triggered. Here's where we are now. There's where we were last night. So again, we hit the profit target last night. It did come back up, and it did go slightly higher. You guys can see it just kind of went slightly out of the top and then kind of pushed down again. You know, we were about 60% of the way through that, about 50% of the way through that zone. So, you know, it would have been a second attempt. And again, it did kind of push back and forth. It actually, the first time it did push back lower. So, you know, there's definitely something sitting up in that range. And again, on the 4 hour, you can see we had that wick over wick that it hit. It just pushed just above and then continued down. And you're actually out of this trade now. You guys can see that was a quick one. Within 4 hours, you're out of that trade. And that happened about noon today, I guess. Is that noon? about 9 o'clock in the morning. There's 9, there's 5, and then it collapsed through. So, at this point, I think we'll go a bit lower. I think we will kind of push down into this zone down here into the 112.50-ish range, about 40 pips lower. I would not take this in the overnight, but I will look at this pair tomorrow and see kind of what the news is, see how everybody else is going. This one potentially could move with the European, the German, the business climate. Again, as Europe contagion, if it's bad number, again, that could be, putting a little bit more. But again, most people are going to push over to the dollar, not necessarily the Swiss at this point. But that's kind of what we have going here. So yeah, it's all right. It's all right. 3 pip spread right now, which is a little bit big on this one. Daily ATR is still 174, which again is much higher than normal. You guys can see this is what we got normally. Normally we're around 60, so we're about 3 times as high as what the normal would be. Okay. What I'll probably do is I should probably keep this on so you guys the historical versus where we are with the actual. All right, so got some time for this one. Going into the euro. So euro dollar, it's only up. Let me see. Let me switch back. 5 pips from where we were last night. Let's not start with Singapore. Okay, so it's not moving as much. Here's what we had on the daily. Okay, is it a smaller one? Yes. Okay, was it tiny? 390. Was it tiny for what the ATR is? Yes. Okay, it wasn't quite half the ATR, but the ATR on this one is still 581. Still a bit insane. The spread is still 5, which is way higher than it normally is. As you guys can see on the 4-hour, it kind of gave us a little bit of a pullback and push down. I mean, here's the 1-hour. You guys can see it's in a zone right now, and it's kind of pushing, right? This zone, I'm still okay if you guys are looking for some type of a trade. I do think that this level up top is still probably fine. This bottom zone, as I mentioned before, I would not be looking to go long off of this one. I talked about it last night about it pushing through and going down to this lower zone. And we just kind of pushed down and then just kind of stopped and went sideways, right? Stopped and went sideways. Again, like I said, kind of halting right now. The Euro news, we don't really have much. And then the Aussie is it's trying to put up a valid attempt, but it's having a little bit of a resistance now. So that's what you're running into for Euro Aussie. So really no trade setups on this one overnight. Euro CAD, same kind of thing. It's 317 pips, as you guys can see. Chopping back and forth, it was definitely a smaller candle. The body of the candle is much, much smaller. This is what it kind of looked like. It has formed a pretty nice kind of top and bottom here, and I mentioned this last night. Either of these two is probably okay for sells. Again, a lot of risk on the top side, and that's the problem. Here's where we are now. Here's where we were last night. So we were basically in the same exact spot. We had the nice little pop, and then just kind of pushed back exactly to where we were. Okay, we're kind of sitting at that 50% mark between sellers and buyers. We got to see where we go. Remember, my trading style is if this, then that. It's not a let's see. I'm going to hope it goes back down here. I just don't have anything that tells me that I want to do that. Lower time frame, you can see we're kind of sitting on a level, but it's the same place where we were, right? We had a pop, pulled back, and it's the same. Nothing's really changed. Okay, so same position, not trending, not worth the trade. Euro pound. Actually, hold on, not euro pound. Where is it? Boom. This guy. So this is that Euro Swiss trade. Since we went up, right? Remember I had that target up here, ended up hitting that target. It dropped. Look what it's done since that time. The feather. Boom, 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 boom. We just keep pounding right back and forth between those two. When I erase it, you guys won't be able to see it anymore. But yeah. How ugly is that? Look at this. Ding, 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 ding. I mean, it's crazy. So not that much that's tradable inside of that group, right? This about every hour it's going back and forth. So choppy. Like I said, the opening was the best print. Now it's pushing higher. This top level is going. If I had to look at this one, I'd say yeah, this one's going long. Again, lows are getting higher. We keep slamming the same level. It's going to run out of orders. There's not going to be enough sellers here. It is going to push higher. So no trade setup for me on Euro Swiss, but I do think Euro Swiss is due for a day tomorrow. As you guys can see over here in Euro Pound. All right, so Euro Pound. Here's our daily. You can see we had a bit of consolidation. The 1 hour, was it the 1 hour or the 30? I don't even know where it is now. These have to match up. And they're not matching up right now. Actually, I think I drew the top side of that one. Oh, I know what it was. This was the hourly, and then this was the 30-minute top and bottom. As you can see on the hourly, all right, here's where we are right now. And, ow, bird, go to my shoulder. Here's where we are now. And right here is where we were before. We had a little bit of a pullback. It didn't even go into a great area. It didn't even retouch it. It just kind of pushed to the downside. We are laying right now in an area where we have seen previous buyers. So it'll be interesting to see what it does from this position. Again, we are kind of between the two areas that we talked about on the 1 hour and the 30-minute. If anything, at this point, I think if we have the ability to break through this zone here, kind of where this gap is, I do think we will continue back to the downside. It will be another day worth of pound strength, but a lot of that's going to depend on that CPI number at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. And it is early. It is going to be right when the open happens. So like for Eve, it'll be great because, again, she'll be able to get that news and there'll most likely be a reaction. If it is good, I mean, if the CPI is coming in at, if it's coming in at that 1.7 and it's not much lower than that, or if it comes in at the 1.8 where the previous was, this could be good, right? If it's good, this obviously will come down. Your profit targets need to be over here at what, 90.25. So, yeah, yeah. That's about the best thing we got. Nothing in here screams going long. I know there's a little bit of a zone here, but I don't really see too much right now that I'm super worried about. Now, if that CPI number comes in horrible, obviously that's going to send it higher, but there's no way to predict that ahead of time. Again, that could be a Nadex contract if the premiums are not completely jacked. Looking at Euro, all right, let's go back over to here. All right, so here's our 4 hour, okay? So we talked about this yesterday. Right at zone here. Where was that off of? Let me see. There we go. So there was their first entry off of it, and then it invalidated it and put a new level in here, but it was still there. You guys can see it went just slightly above that zone. Okay, slightly above. But this is what we're looking at right now. So looking at this one on kind of a 4 hour, this is what I think we need to look at. And again, I remember showing this before that it was kind of sitting up there, but there's a lot of risk in this level. At what, 55 pips again. This one has a daily ATR of 202, so it is coming back down again. It looks like it has leveled here. Once we get a couple of these big candles out of the way, this thing will drastically start coming back to the downside. But looking at that 4 hour, again, we are at the kind of the top of the range, right? If you're looking at this is your bottom and this is your top side, we were expecting this to roll over and kind of come to the downside. Question is, how far can it go? Again, this is Euro weakness, right? So, I mean, if that German business climate is not good, we can have a continuation to this. I think a valid target, again, there's going to be one target that we need to look for in this range right in here. And there's going to be another one, obviously, down in here. So these are kind of the two profit targets. I do like this as a short. I do like the fact that we kind of had this push. We had another push, and then we had a big push off of that, right? And then it failed to go higher. So, I mean, for me, it does look like this is definitely a short position. The risk level is going to be a pain on this one, though, trying to get something good in there. I mean, this would have been kind of pushing. You may or may not have gotten filled on that one, but that would have been a way to look at this one, the reaction. And again, this had a pretty nice reaction, but a double top I don't like. I like this top much better. It dropped the base and then pulled. So not a bad little zone here. It would have been questionable if you're able to get filled in this one. And actually, you may have just hit your profit target. I did not grab this one either during this time I was eating. Yeah, you would have hit your 1 to 3 already. So that may actually be a completed trade. And as you guys can see, look at the ATR. At least over here, you're seeing the ATR coming down. Obviously, the daily is still a bit high. On the 4 hour, again, you guys can see that it does look more like it's starting to kind of peak and head back to the downside. Because 4 hour, you get a little bit more leveled curve. Again, pop, 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 and then boom, boom, and it's starting to kind of tumble its way. So it's getting back into kind of where it needs to be. Again, I don't know if anybody traded this one. I haven't looked at this one as much lately, unfortunately, but yep, nice little 15-minute chart setup there based off of this high into a 4 hour zone. If anybody was able to grab that one. Looking at Euro New Zealand. So again, Euro New Zealand, it's still 534 pips, and there's like no liquidity. So again, not a pair that I'm super concerned about. Looking at it though, I mean, you can see that here's where we are now, and go back to here. That's where we were last night. So we're really only, and I say only, but it's only moved 90 pips, right? 90 pips in 24 hours. And even, I mean, that's double what the ATRs on the 4 hour. So it looks like it's coming back to within normal limits, and then that will make this tradable again. But right now, unfortunately, it's really not. Euro dollar. All right, so here's our daily on the euro dollar. Again, I was upset that we didn't hit this. It's still pushing, but there's a lot of wicks, a lot of indecision, a lot of not movement. It's only up 10 pips in the last 24 hours. Here's what it is, though. Again, we started, it popped, and then came back down again. It tagged a level here on the 4 hour, but I don't really consider it a great level. There you go. You know what? Let me delete this bottom piece here. Just clean it up. It came up and it didn't even hit this zone here. I'm not even really a big fan of this one. I do like to push away from it. It's not the worst level, but again, I'd be very, I'm kind of looking at that going, I like the push, but it kept pushing back into this zone, and then this wasn't the original fresh piece. It was this, but then it's actually this. So it's kind of a cascading effect to the downside. On the 30-minute, you can see it did pull a level, but it actually shrunk the level, right? It shrunk it down into there, and we would not have gotten our entry. Again, this is the problem with that going lower, 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 lower. So, I mean, in reality, I understand why it turned, but it's not something that I would have been able to get into. And seeing it right now, at least on the hourly, you can see that it's kind of consolidating in, and it's kind of getting squeezed, right? It's kind of getting squeezed in here. It was unable to break these highs, put a new low in, pushed up. Again, here was a lower high, pushed up, kind of went higher, and it's like, listen, is that it, or is it going to move? So it's kind of wedging in, and again, being in the middle of the night on the hourly, I don't think we'll get as much movement. We should get more in the morning time. Obviously, when we get the European markets open, that will start giving us some decent levels again, and then again drop down to these lower time frames and see what we got. But even today, there really wasn't too many places to get entered in. Like I said, we're kind of not high or low on the curve here, and that's kind of the problem. Like I said, areas that I'm looking for is this up top. I do like the way that this exploded off, and I do like this one here, the way it exploded, but I'd be using the lower level for any type of an entry. This would be a target if you were taking a short. And again, here's where we are now, and here's where we were last night, right here, right here, right there. So basically the same exact spot. We went a little higher, didn't really hit much. Went a little bit lower, didn't really hit much, and we're at the same exact spot. So not really a whole lot of movement. But like I said, I like that. I like the fact that this is shrinking again. The daily ATR of 190 is way too high for this pair. And again, it's a lot of the candles in this range. But that is coming back down and shortening. Okay, you guys can see it. This is what normal looks like here. Again, the normal ATR is, excuse me, bird. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Normal ATR, as you guys can see, is between 60 and 70. And again, being at 190, we are slightly on crack, right? For lack of a better word. And then Euro Singapore, you guys can see here on the daily. Again, chopping back and forth. It did come in, did grab some, buyers in this level and then push back up again. On the 4 hour, again, we are wedged, right? You guys can see it. Here's where we are now, and this is where we were last night here. We pushed higher. We did tag that zone and then just kind of pushed back down. So again, it is now actually wedged between this area and this area right here. So getting smaller, 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 and smaller. It's kind of more like that. Okay. 238, obviously way larger than we would want to trade though, right? On the Euro Singapore. Okay, now let's go over the pound. So the pound had some interesting things to look at. Looking at the pound over here, right? So here's the pound yen. Here's the daily. Okay, quite a large day. It was up to 229. Total was about 394 for the day. Looking at this one on a 4 hour, again, you can kind of see, all right, what do we got here, right? We put a base in and we kind of rallied off that base. That's where we were last night, right? Here is it on an hourly. Okay, here's the hour that we are looking at. That was a wick over wick that we had drawn on a lower time frame. This was an old level, so let's clear that just to make the charts easier to read. And you can see we had a top in here. It's an okay top. Again, we were looking to see what was over here. On the 30-minute, you guys can see there was that top. We actually didn't make it, all right? We got pretty close. This zone I mentioned was not horrible. It was about a 35 pip zone, which, again, on a pair like this, not too shabby, right? I mean, it's only 30-minute. I mean, 1 pip a minute, not bad with what we have going on. But we were unable to get an entry on that one. And, had you been able to get entry, we were kind of floating around where the 3-to-1 was right now. So it did give us some movement, although, if I move this down, you guys can see, even if we got entered into there at the deepest point, we're only about halfway. So a very kind of muted response off that level, right? Nice response last time. This time we didn't quite get there. We did get front run. It wasn't the type of explosive move we like. If it does push higher again, it depends what time it does it, but I don't think that necessarily is a bad area because it didn't explode off. It made an attempt and got pushed back down, meaning we definitely have some sellers up there. And I think if we can get a little bit higher, I think that would give us the kind of the oomph that we need to the downside. Now, CPI is bad. This is going to go straight down. Okay, we will be shooting into the lower areas. It'll probably jump through this and maybe hit that lower one. It'll probably gonna hit some in here, but it did spend a lot of time there. Mm, Looks like it's gonna hit somewhere in here. That would be giving us a 4-hour zone. Um, yeah, looks like somewhere in there. Looks like this one right there. Looks like somewhere in there is where this one will probably fall to. Um, you're looking at about 250 pips to the downside. So yeah, that could be the move tomorrow. Again, up 229 today. Bad news, it could be down 229 tomorrow, resting in that area. Like I said, we missed the entry on top, so not a whole lot we can do. And right now, it's just stabilized sideways. This is going to be a London Open type trade. Looking at the pound CAD 373. Again, kind of a funky pair. We were sitting inside of that weekly zone. It did pop pretty nicely out of it. Dropping down to the 4-hour. Let me take the overlay off. Okay, you guys can see it rallied up nice. It didn't quite make it up to a zone. It kind of turned in this level, which is not really. You guys can see here. It went up and it kind of went off this zone right here. Right, you guys see right this zone right here. That's kind of where it's a very aggressive entry, and it hasn't moved since that time. Okay, you guys can see the consolidation in as well. So pound cat is a little bit risky in my eyes as well. I still think I'm looking for this thing to drop to the downside. Now, if we can get a punch through this with bad news, look for the retrace up, and I'm still looking to kind of take a short to the downside on this one. Harry Potter to the down. All right, and that would be, you guys will see it. That's a break of this zone going down to this lower zone here, down into what, 162.77 is kind of what I'm looking for. All right, that'd be pound CAD, pound dollar. So here's the daily on this one. Pound dollar is up about 164. Right, the daily ATR is 294, which is again much higher than it needs to be. Typically, it's about between 80 and if the markets have been moving lately, 80 and 110 maybe. Again, pretty decent day to the top side. You guys can see it more or less just. Oh no, give me the microphone. You cannot have the microphone. I'm like looking at the microphone, I'm like, wait, why is it moving? And I realize that the bird is over there eating the microphone. No, come here. Come on, go back on the cage. There you go. There you go. Go back. All right, sorry about that. So you guys can see this is where we are right now, and where we were last night was sitting right in this range. So we had just left this bottom area, and it gave a decent push, but then the last 12, 16 hours, it's kind of flatlined. It hasn't gone anywhere. Looking at why it did that, there's not a whole lot in here. There's not a whole lot of reason why. Obviously, if you look back, again, crank this, really since about 7 o'clock this morning, right? Once the U.S. market came online, it stopped. Okay, it stopped. So all this movement basically came in from last night, right? Here's where we are, and then here's where we were last night here. So we'd already started the move, and then here is the pause before the London Open, and then here is the London Open spike. 6 o'clock in the morning, we hit here, and then this is where the U.S. traders came online. So it's been okay movement, but not really anything that was tradable. I mean, look at this on here. Nothing in here. Again, this zone up top is probably okay. For this one, I would like for price to get up to here before news. Okay. Again, CPI at 3 a.m. in the morning. I would like this if we were up in the zone. If we had a push, some type of a rally into that zone before news, that would lead me to believe that this is going to turn and spike back to the downside. So you'd have a pop up, and then you'd have a punch right back to the downside. Kind of the way that I'm looking at this, see how this is going to play. I'm probably not going to be up for the release, but if you guys are, that's what I'd be looking to do for something looking for some Nadex trades. Pound Singapore. Again, pound Singapore, pretty decent bounce on the 4-hour. It's not bad, but we're not near any zones, unfortunately, on this one. You guys can see there are daily zones below. Wait, hold on, let me go. No, those would be violated zones. All right, let's take those off. There we go. All right, that's better. So really in this one, I'm not as interested here. I'd wait till this one comes up. I think if you guys are looking to get into this one, up here at 174.20 to 174.98 would be really what I'm looking for.
this little tiny pop of a zone here just does nothing for me. Again, nice movement off, but I think I'd be much more conservative where this one is kind of balanced and put lower highs in. I think that's a safer bet. All right. And again, look at this. You guys can see the ATR at least kind of coming back down again. On the daily, we're still kind of at that peak, but good news on the 4-hour. Even though we kind of pushed up, and again, this rise here is these 3 candles. You guys can see it right there. This is starting to come back down. So we're coming back to normalcy in this one as well. And again, the normalcy is what we're really looking for. The New Zealand pairs, again, we'll cover too. Here you go. You guys can see that pretty nice day up, right? New Zealand dollar, let's see, a total of about 150 pips forward. It has an ATR of 198. The normal one was down to about 45, so we're still pretty jacked on this one. You can see this one was not quite as impressive on the 4-hour. Here's where we are right now, and if we look back in relation to everything else, this is where we were here, was this candle here. So from here to where we are now, we're talking about 30 pips movement. That is more what we're used to seeing in this pair. Unfortunately, the spread's a little bit bigger, the ATR is a little bit crazier, and on the 1-hour, this is what we're dealing with. So we did have a slight touch here, and it did go to about a 2-to-1. But besides that, I wouldn't really say that this thing is trending strong. Not a bad zone. Like I like how it dropped and immediately based and then pushed its way and continued to push further. Again, being all the way down here, coming back up, that was really the only clean. Was at the very, very top. Again, the end or the top of the kind of minor curve, right? You know, with all the stimulus and everything pushed in, obviously none of that is considered dollar strong. So I don't know that just will turn and flip and continue to the downside overnight. I think until that is official, what everybody's getting, and they're like, hey, listen, the checks are actually in the mail. Until the checks are in the mail, I don't think we can, do this. Like I said, they may approve it, but until they actually mail the checks, or the actual stimulus is on the way, I don't know. We'll see. Also, with the unemployment number, I think we're going to have a pop through. So for me on this one, I'm kind of in a holding pattern. I want to see kind of where we end up, but I really think that the unemployment number is going to shoot this thing. It's going to be a nice little pop to the top side, and I'm more looking to retrace that after the fact. All right. And then New Zealand yen. New Zealand yen on the daily. As you can see, again, I'm still looking for this gap. I think this gap is really all that matters for me right now to the top side. I'm looking for price to come up into that range right there. And again, we'll put that there. The 66, 62 range. So we got a bit to go on that one. We got what? 200 pips to the top side. It does have a daily ATR of 240. So it is kind of at its peak. It is starting to kind of, you guys can see it is starting to turn tail and head down. You can see on the 4-hour, kind of same thing, right? It pop, and it's, if it breaks this level, then we know it's going to get, go a bit lower. But I'm looking for that. That's the only entry I have for New Zealand yen. Looking at the dollar. Dollar Singapore, way up here, right? Way up here. Again, we came back and bounced off that wick over wick that we had. Wasn't an impressive drop. It was okay, and then it stopped and just kind of died right here and flatlined. As you can see on the hourly, there's a wick over wick it's pushing in, but it's wedged, right? We have a zone here, a zone up top, and it keeps punching in, so it's just basically sideways. No trend, no trade. Go back and look at the dollar yen. So the dollar yen, as we mentioned yesterday, right now this is up 58 pips, right, from where it was last night. As you can see, we were flirting with this dollar range, and again, it touched, it just missed it, pushed all the way back down again. Closed here. Went up, came all the way down here, came back up again. Opened and closed, it went up, and it came all the way back down again. So it's done it multiple times where it keeps touching. Now, as you guys can see, this is what it looks like, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So it is definitely forming buyers in, driving higher. Okay, it is definitely having higher highs. So as much as this is really not moving, it's here's a high, higher high, higher high, higher high, low, higher low, higher low, higher low, and maybe this is the higher low. So it's attempting to punch through. We'll see if it can get there or not. Like I said, it's been turned away a few times. That zone is quite large. That zone is about a 70 pip zone, but it keeps punching. And right now, at least on the 4-hour, I'm not seeing anything to say that, hey, listen, this is ready to turn and flip. Now, because these zones are so close, if we do get 2 breaks in here, then it's kind of like off to the races. Okay, then we're looking for a short. There's a break here, a break here, a break here. 2 of those breaks, or if we put a red, a green, and then a red close that is below one of these, like if we get a red candle, or a green and then a red candle that closes below, there's a signal for a trend reversal. We're looking to go short, okay? On the hourly, right on the hourly, you can see some of these minor zones that have been put in. We had a zone here we touched, and we talked about this yesterday. Then today there was only a little tiny minor, like there was this right here about 5 o'clock this morning. That's about the only place you could have entered it. Besides that, it just kind of went up, kind of rolled over, and kind of came back down again, right? So not really anything easy we could get into. In the 30-minute, kind of the same thing. It gives you that same little level. You guys can see again. Was there a great level to take it short? Not really, right? It was just kind of slow, steady, slow, steady, slow, steady, and then it kind of rolled and went right back down again. Okay, so really from the close of the market in this, beginning of the Asian session, it's just rolled over. Okay, so we'll see. I think this one has some room to run. Like I said, I think this one's gonna get annihilated as well with the unemployment number on Thursday. We'll see. Even short this one, yeah, since 111.63, yeah, up in where, like right up in this area, yeah, 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 111.52 is where they are, what the start of that daily is. So yeah, so I mean it's in the right place. You know, like I said, and you guys, I don't know if you guys saw it. I did. I'm sure I covered it last night. When I did the weekly report originally, the unemployment number was supposed to be 750. Now it's 1.5. So yeah, I've never seen a report double like that in 2 days. But I don't know. Is it still? Let me see. Is it still there? Yeah, it's still at 1.5. We're holding firm at 1.5, right? And this is what we're used to dealing with. Look at this. This is what we normally deal with, right? It's always 200 something, right? 200 is normal, right? Look at this. I can go back to, yeah, it's the maximum allowed, 2017. Even here, right? 1.5. I've never seen anything like this. So we'll see. We'll see how that one turns out. I think that's going to be a shock to everybody. All right. Whoop. I'm making some website changes. All right. So that's what I would say. Again, look at this one. During market hours, look for any type of easy, smart bounces. Like I said, it's been very, very small things. Yeah, that's about the only way to play this one currently right now. Dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss was only 14 pips up, so we really didn't get a lot of movement here. As you can see, this one made a big push up. It ran into a little kind of zone, but nothing really like, I love that zone, right? Nothing great. As you can see here, here's the 4-hour. Here's where we are now, and then here's where we were last night. Okay, it did push into the zone. Now, this one, guys, you would have probably taken a stop on it. You can see how close it was. We talked about it popping off that zone, and actually the zone's off just a little bit, but it wouldn't have made a difference. There's the bottom of the zone. I'll throw it off this area. Yeah. So you can see you would have gotten stopped just by a little tiny bit. It was a buffer. You would have needed a buffer of about 6. The ATR is only about 2. I don't know. You may have put on like a 3 or 4, or maybe even a 5 pip, but it's just over that. So you would have taken a loss on this one. It did go exactly where we thought it was going to go. It didn't quite make it up. It got super close to its 3-1. Analysis was good. We just didn't get enough movement on it. All right. Here, I'll remove these 2 lines so you can see it a little bit better. And again, going to happen. Can't say that can't say everything that I, do is correct. But again, missed it. Had the right idea that it would take a bounce. And again, there's descending wicks here. So I mean, it was a larger area than we were really, interested in taking. We took it off of this piece. There was one a little bit lower, one a little bit lower, but I like this one. I like the aggressive. And what are you gonna do now? With that being said, if you did like that zone and you got stopped out, you do see that there was another opportunity. It did put a low in. There was a fair to go higher. I'm sorry, a fail to go lower, and it kind of grazed off there. You may or may not have gotten entered. You may have just said, hey, listen, I'm going to wait for this to bounce, and I want a confirmation that it's bouncing. You would have got that bounce when it came back and touched. And had you done that, then there's where your 3-1 was. There was a trade in there. But again, depending on your broker, you may or may not have gotten filled off this little red candle. It was close. You guys can see it here. Super, super close, right? So depending on your broker, you may or may not have gotten in, okay? And again, this one is too soon. You probably wouldn't have. kind of a consolidation across every single pair, as you can see. Huge spike, and now it's kind of consolidating in. 4-hour, same idea. It's been bouncing, and we talked about the zone up top. It's still bouncing off that zone. There's the hourly. As you guys can see, the hourly. Here's where we are now. There's the miss, and here's where we were last night. Okay, so if you had gotten the entry, you never even made it down to your 1 to 3, which would have been this gold line. It just literally went bounce. It's literally just going sideways. Now, this would be an interesting one to play with oil tomorrow as well. Obviously, the oil number is going to be by itself. Let's see. Yeah, there's nothing else. Durable goods are RDB over, so you can try to play this one with oil. Obviously, their number one export is going to be oil. Although at this point with this low, maybe their number one export is going to be timber, but yeah, it could still work. So yeah, you can play this. You can play oil tomorrow on this one. May not necessarily be bad. I still think that we are probably more in a short position in this one right now. I think this needs to come back down a little bit. I think we're artificially high in this one. I think we will come back down, probably back into this lower 140s. 146 is a bit crazy. Unless, if there's a huge inventory tomorrow, then maybe. But I think oil's pretty much stabilized itself at this point. I don't think we're going to see too much more weakness at this point. But again, so I'm short dollar CAD. Dollar Singapore, wasn't super impressed with this one. It pulled back. It went to that same area. I want to see if it's going to hold or collapse. And to me, it looks like it's going to be probably more in the collapsing phase. Especially with all the stimulus, to me, it looks like we will probably take a flip on this one. But I don't necessarily have an entry. There's a lot of junk back and forth in this one right now, right? Again, it's popping up, grabbing levels, but it's hitting one down here at the same time. All right, let's go down here and go into the oil realm. All right, so I just mentioned oil. So, actually take some of these things off. This guy here. All right, so on the daily, guys, you can see super, super close to that 20. We have pulled, but much, much smaller of a day. Definitely consolidated back and forth. Here's the 4-hour, as you guys can see. Okay. This is a big zone. Obviously, you're not interested in taking that. We'd like something a little bit higher up the curve. So the 4-hour doesn't really do much for us. Here's the hourly. And again, here's where we are kind of right now, situation-wise. And then here's where we were last night. Okay. We're basically in the same exact spot. Okay. We haven't really moved much. It's 22 and 22, right? So here's where that one closed. And where we are right now is literally right here. Right. So not really much movement whatsoever. Was there any type of entries in this one today? Here's about the only thing you could have done, and it's an okay level. Yeah, it's not the best. It's okay. You're looking for something a bit more aggressive. Much more consolidated day than what we've had. So that was really about the only trade that I saw in this one. Nothing to the top side really kind of stood out to me as being like a great place to short. I'm still waiting for this to come a bit higher, so we'll see. We are within range. Right now we're at 25.40. What 24? What 25.50? And this is up at 27.90. That's a bit much for an oil play. Typically you see $1.50, maybe $2. That's a bit more than that. So if we do rally up overnight and we kind of push ourselves into here, there is a potential that we could get a pop, a hit of this zone, and then kind of a push back down. But right now, that's really kind of all I see as far as good quality levels. We're into that 15-minute level right now, and it's a smaller time level, and it's actually not a fresh touch. But that's about it. I think if we can push through the top of this, it looks like we have a basing level right below it, right in here. It looks like we can push through. We really need it to kind of come up and be kind of in this area, probably in here. Let's see. That is 27.90. We kind of need it to be like here by the news tomorrow morning, and that would give us the potential for a pop, a hit, and then a parabolic retracement back to the downside. All right, so that would be oil. Let's look at gold. So gold, as you can see over the last couple of hours, has been going down. Okay, obviously with all the talk about, oh my God, we're going to print all this money, we're going to give everybody money falling from the heavens, yay! Obviously there's going to be inflation worries, and again, this thing did pop. It popped quite large. Again, nobody really knows the true extent of kind of what the surplus factor is going to look like. But what was it doing? It's running on the 4-hour, and it ran into some levels that are pretty far away. We didn't expect it to move that much. And again, you guys can see we were bouncing off this level. We did hit the level that we talked about. Again, chart school last night. Here's where we are now. And then when we go back, chart school last night was sitting right here. Okay. We were right here at this 22 mark. We did push down. We went up and we triggered on this candle. It is not outside the top. And bam, we came back down and touched the 1 to 3. Okay. So there was the trade setup from last night. We did end up going through and grabbing that one. It came back over and pushed a little higher, 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 higher. Again, on the 30-minute, you guys can see what was used to form this level. Okay. And bam, hit, bam, touched right here on basically 1 hour. It was 2 candles is all it took. It did come back and touch again and then push 3/4 of the way before it finally pushed through. And then you can see it kind of pushed a little bit higher before falling back again. So gold didn't have the easiest run for all the people that talked about inflation. I think it's a little bit early to talk about inflation at this point. We're not even remotely at the peak. I mean, having stimulus money is great. Lowering interest rates is, it's fine. But one of the mandates of the Fed is to curb inflation. So as soon as we are past, what do you think the market's going to do when all of a sudden it's like, hey, we got to make sure we control inflation, and then we see like a 50 basis point hike like immediately once this thing is peaked. So they will control inflation. So I don't think that this is, I don't know, all the talk out there about how there's going to be huge inflation now and all this other stuff. They're going to control inflation. They're not stupid, you know. They're going to wait till the thing gets back up, and they're not going to let the market overheat and then cause a recession because of everything that we're seeing. So they know what happens when inflation gets out of control. I don't think we want that. So, like I said, probably a bit more bearish than anything else right now with this one. It is bunching into some nice little levels in here. And like I said, this is quite a large level in the 4 hour. You can see the reaction off of just this minor zone here that we drew. This is a much bigger one. Look at the big pop off of that. So if we're able to get higher, I would definitely be short. But we've run basically from low on the curve now to middle and actually even high on the curve. It's another one of the ones that has run the full gambit back and forth in just a matter of days. Looking at silver, okay. Silver, it's different, right? So here's gold, okay. Here's the gold daily, right? Here is the silver daily. A little bit different, right? We're not close to the top. We're just starting to approach those levels. Now, here's the 4 hour. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. There we go. Yeah, you guys can see it. You guys know where I'm going with this one. Bam, look at that. So close. So close. I talked about it. We put it just above, and it kind of rolled right off of there, and it's kind of, it got slow and then moved, and yeah, look at that. Yeah, it was right there. And you guys can see. There's your 1 to 3. So there was the trade set up, and it's like so close, right? So close. And this, and in all honesty, this has been happening to me a bunch lately. I was telling Sean earlier today. I've actually been front running a lot of things, but I feel just in my personal trading, I feel like the need that I need to be a bit more conservative right now because we are having such huge swings in the market. And silver is not one of those ones that I really trade a whole lot of. He actually, because he was having such great success, and I was like, well, let me go check silver out. I traded it forever ago with currency, and I was like, oh my god, this thing flies. But this was one of those ones that even though I had it, it just not working. She's not going to get that message till morning. It's close. It's close. So on the lower time frame, you guys can see just how close we were. Now we've had our red, we put our green, which is obviously a lower green. It's a lower high, and now we're starting to push lower. So if we break below this, you're going to start having some sellers step into this market. It just is a technical trade, just as a trade setup. If anything, I would have to say that I'm a bit more bearish with silver. Gold probably can bounce a little bit more, but silver I think is more headed to the downside. It'll be interesting to see how this one reacts. Like I said, the news today was up stimulus. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be this big. But now the market's adjusted to it. I'd have to say on the lower time frames, I am definitely a bit more bearish. As you can see on the lower time frame here on 15s, you can see we did have a level that has now drawn itself. The indicator has measured this side and measured this side and said, hey, there's something going on right here, which again is right before our zone. This is a very minor zone. It kind of bounced off of it and didn't push very high, and it looks like it's already starting to roll back through. So there's not a whole lot in here on the lower time frames that say it's going to stop for me. Again, we have to go a bit lower, right? A bit lower. And again, using the overlay, you can see the 30-minute zones don't kick in until down here. And again, you can't even see hourlies or anything, below that, right? But there's where your 30-minute zones are all kicking in. There's nothing in here until we get back down in here into the 12 range. So we'll see. Again, bearish for silver. So NASDAQ, okay, here is the daily. Again, look at this. Gap up, big explosion, and now we're seeing a pullback, right? We're seeing that kind of push back. So not really great zones in here. Like I said, nothing on the 4-hour. We have this daily zone that we have a bit higher than where we were. Here's what we're kind of dealing with today on the hourly. This is a top, but there's like really no wick, and it's kind of a funky place, and that's about where we came up to. It's the same exact. You guys can see right here and right here are more or less exactly the same. So can't really say that you would have taken the trade off of that one. I mean, I guess you could have if you wanted to do it at the very, very top. I can tell you that is a support and resistance type trap setup. Excuse me, people say, "Hey, listen, we break that." I'm going long, and the second we touched it, what happened? It literally just boom, it pulled back again. Um, to me, in the overnight, this one looks like we're going to retrace as well. I mean, again, on the 4-hour, pretty nice movement up. Again, this is one candle, right? Straight up with nothing. Look back here. Do you guys see any of these other candles where it goes boom, 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 boom? No, I mean, we had a big one down, a big one up, big down, big up. When you have these big, just one unidirectional candles, we tend to have retraces, right? I mean, look, straight down, straight up, straight down. Again, a little bit of a pullback. It needed a breakthrough. Big down, gap down, big up, gapped up, big down, and then boom, it started to slow down. This is another one of those big ups. So I'm curious to see tomorrow if this will also be a big down, and there's a number of different things that could cause it tomorrow. But so for me, again, this is more probably a Carl thing. I don't really trade this one enough for me, but I'd be looking more for this one for short. Lower time frames, everything is telling me down. And you guys look, 30-minute, the first hourly level we have is all the way down here. Right. So in the overnight, I would say I'm probably short this position. I probably won't trade this one, but in the analysis, I would have to say this one looks like it's going to be negative. The Dow also had one of those huge candles to the top side. Looking at it on the 4-hour, again, you guys can see it bounced right off of a daily zone, or actually weekly zones, right? These are weekly zones that we bounced off of. And again, those large time frames don't lie, but we bounced right off the weekly time frames up. Okay, we pushed through. Here's what we have on the hourly. So we had one zone here, and it did end up hitting it, pulling back, right, or front run, came up and hit it and pulled back again and went lower. And then the third attempt actually went and through and pushed it. So again, not surprising. It banged through, and then finally punched. It did go higher, then pull back, and then continue to push. So kind of an interesting setup. It did go and tag this hourly up top. Again, went from low on the curve all the way up top. Looking at time-wise where we are, again, here's where we are now. Going back, here is where we were last night. So pretty decent run. I mean, again, from the time the chart school happened, it just went up, 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 up. And again, this is just all the talk of stimulus, stimulus, stimulus. Again, help the economy, help the economy, help the economy. But now we're starting to see it kind of fade back again, right? The stimulus is one day. There will be bad news that will drive this back down again. So I'm afraid that all the stimulus news today may have been the big pop. Look what we had last week. Largest drop ever. What happened the next day? Huge explosion, basically wiping it all out again. So just keep that in mind, guys, for tomorrow into your trading. And then looking at S&P, same thing. Huge pop up. S&P 4-hour, nothing in here, no real level sitting above. You guys can see it did form some demand level at the bottom. On the hourly, you can see this is what we're dealing with. Right, there's a little bit of a zone. It didn't even make it that high. Everything up here, I think, is a much better position. You guys can see the work we put in today from last night. If we put that same type of day in, that's putting us much higher up here. And again, there is a bit of a gap here, but up in this zone, I think is really what we need to be focusing on. So probably the same thing. I mean, we're red, we're green, and we're looking for a red right now. It'll close in about 30 minutes, and it is already red. So it is giving us more of an indication. Looking at this even on the 30-minute, minor zone here, minor zone, and a little bit of a gap. But besides that, there's really not a whole lot. Again, the higher level time frame, the 4-hour, is all the way back down here at the bottom. So, it grind its way up today. Don't know. I mean, we'll see. If I had to look at this one right now, I'd say, listen, it's already turned off here. We have a red, we have green, we have red. It looks like it wants to close lower. There's one zone here, sure, but then there's kind of this just not a whole lot of movement. So I'd have to say it'd be a bit more bearish in all three of these. Oil was a tight trade today with Nadex widening the strikes. Yeah. Unfortunately, all the brokers are protecting themselves, and the market makers are protecting themselves because of the potential for absolutely just crazy wild spikes right now. There's nothing you can do about that. Like I said, they're not happy about it. Market makers like as tight as spreads as possible because then they make a lot more money. These wide spreads, they don't make as much money because less people are trading. So that's all we can do with. All right, guys. So that was the last one. Like I said, bearish on the indices for tomorrow. Gold, oil, I'm kind of like, and I think gold and silver, are potentially looking like they're gonna have down days. Oil, actually, if I had to say for oil, I would say I think oil is gonna continue to push a bit higher. I think that's the only one that's gonna go higher. But gold, silver, I think both those two are lined up to fall a little bit, and then I think the three indices are probably on the way down as well. For what it looks like, I said, a lot can happen from now to morning time. Again, for me right now, with everything going on, I'm not trading them in the overnights. Look for those to have open markets and then drop to the lower time frames to trade them. All right. All right. Giveaway time. Only got 4 people, and I know you guys love to snag this thing at the very, very end. I did my CC cleaner. Now all my pages are like, do you accept cookies from this site? Yes, I accept cookies from your site. All right, guys, go ahead, get your exclamation point ticket in. If you guys haven't done so already, I'll give you guys about another minute. This is for the new people that are in the room. This is for Pip Chips. Pip Chips is kind of just like it's like a in-channel currency that we use. You can purchase indicators. You can purchase mentoring time where I'll do like a one-on-one with you. We do it over not Skype, Zoom. We can talk about positions that you're in, strategies, money management. We can talk about market psychology. We can really talk about anything in there. So do exclamation point ticket. Like I said, we'll close this down at like what, 128, 129, something like that. Make it easy because I know there's a delay. 128.30, guys, is where we're going to close this down at. 128.30. And then I feel like we need music. The dun, 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 dun. Right? Don't quarantine your trading. I love some of the emails I get. Fun emails. Ooh, James stuck in there right past Ernest. There's Wealth Builder in at the last minute. Q is not in yet, but he could be asleep. La Morena, the Pip Chip champion right now. I think she's blasted more of them. All right, there we go. Ooh, we got 9 tickets purchased. No one's gonna make it in. No one's gonna make it 10. Look at that, you guys are hoarding those chips. All right, there we go. 31. Close the giveaway down, and the winner is. Wait, who won last night? Last night was Debbie, correct? Last night was Debbie, right? All right, let's see. So if Debbie wins again, guys, you know what that means? Debbie gets 100 pip chips instead of 25. All right. So let's see. Winner of tonight's drawing is Sean. Sean takes it tonight. All right. So Sean will be in the running for 100 pip chips tomorrow. Let's go ahead. You guys see I got all the warnings again. Oops. Not James. Man, that would have been bad. Giving James an extra, 25 pip chips. I never lived that one down. But Sean is on the hot pursuit. Sean wins tomorrow. Man, he is in the Ernest and Will realm. Again, obviously the reset. All right, guys. So with that being said, it is 10:30. I'm going to get out of here, get some rest, and hopefully tomorrow morning I'm able to trade more. Whew. 4 more hours of education for the 10-year-olds tomorrow. And, well, I guess they're 9. They're not 10 yet. They'll be 10 in like 2 weeks. Sean is creeping up fast, man. Sean is putting the hours in, putting the work in. You're 30 seconds behind. That's not that well. Mine fluctuates back and forth, but I'm like 6 or 7 on Twitch, and I think 11 on YouTube right now. Get White Castle? Yeah, we don't have White Castle. All right, guys. I'm out of here. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Take care.